CCS Cinema Club, welcome. My name is Leia Gersing, and I'm here with, of course,
Sarah Durr.
And it's just us today, no special guests, because we're getting into this movie. We're talking about Dune Part 2 today.
What if Paul Atreides were still alive?
Going on adventures, flying in space, surfing ancient sandworms, and fighting in an interstellar war. Dune is the science fiction with a message to spread that we will be talking about today. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, Sarah, we're talking about Dune today. Are you excited?
I'm so excited. This movie was so good. I didn't know what to expect going into it, but I was I loved it. It was so good.
So when did you see, did you watch Dune 1 with me, part 1 with me?
No, I was there when you were finishing it.
Okay.
I watched Dune 1 the last day it was on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
So I just
we were kind of
under
late.
The wire. I was kind of late. I hadn't seen it when it originally came out.
Yeah.
But I really liked that one too. I'd say definitely between the two, I preferred the second one.
Yeah.
Just because the first one kind of felt like there was a lot of exposition, which of course it had to be with, such a big story. But I really liked the second one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the first one was a lot of setup, which can move kind of slowly, but it kind of gets you set up for the next movie, which is important. But it can be a lot. And so a lot of people might have said that the first one was a bit boring. And I honestly like setup movies, which is kind of weird. So I really enjoyed the first one, but I did like the second one better. It's definitely more action-packed. So if you like action-packed movies and you saw the first one, you're like, I don't know. Watch the second one because I think you'll enjoy it. There's a lot to talk about Dune, but let's talk about why is it worth it to see the second one?
Oh my gosh, so many reasons. I feel like the main thing that a lot of people are talking about is the effects. It was really incredible. There's a lot of ways that the things in this movie could have looked like really crazy with bad effects, but it looked so good. There were a lot of really action-packed moments that you felt like you were really in the action. Yeah. 'Cause sometimes bad special effects, they really just take you out of it. But there were a lot of good special effects. The visuals are amazing. And just the story is it's complex and it has a really important message for people to hear. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool themes. There's a lot of religious themes and then also a lot of themes about war. And those kind of go together. So that was really interesting. We'll probably get more into that more in the spoilers end. So what type of audience do we think would enjoy Dune? If you're more of an action person, what do we think?
I think that definitely sci-fi fans would really love it. Also, anyone who likes action movies, people who read the books. I personally didn't read the books, but I think that it's really interesting to see the translation between book to movie.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we love book to movie adaptations on this pod.
We love it.
We love them. Honestly, I think that a science fiction lover, if you love things like Star Wars, even Harry Potter, I think you'll like this.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a really good one. And I also think that this is, while it's a very serious movie, there's a lot of comedic elements in it, which I thought was really cool. So let's talk about some of our favorite characters. Well, who is your fave character? I can't remember her name.
It's
the one that Zendaya plays. I honestly cannot remember her name either, but it was Desert Spring was her.
Yes.
One of her names, which foreshadows a moment in the movie that we'll talk about later. But yeah, Desert Spring. We'll call her Desert Spring or Zendaya. That works. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I just loved her. I thought that she was really honest. She was able to see. We'll get more into that in the spoilers section.
Yeah.
But I thought that she expressed what she was feeling and she didn't sugarcoat things and she kept it very real. And yeah, I just really liked that about her character.
Yeah. So getting more into the story, one key element that I thought was really cool is kind of what all the fights and the wars revolve around is the spice. So the spice is this substance that is within like the sand and everything. And I thought that was really cool concept. So the entire vibe of the movie is kind of feels like it's set in the past. Obviously, it's a completely different universe. But it feels like more in the past because there's not internet and there's not like technology. And it's because all of the gear that they have is like fueled by spice. Like everything's made out of spice, which I thought was really cool.
I thought that was really cool because it's also like that is what is giving people like power, is that access to that like type of technology.
Yeah.
And so I thought that that was setting it up really well to like establish that like access to spice is access to power.
And then the spice as well helps them go into space, which is really cool. And it kind of made me think about just like planets in general. What if there's a planet out there? And it's because I'm always like, well, I don't know if aliens could get to Earth because I don't know that they have those resources. Like we don't have those resources yet. What if they have something like spice that kind of gets them there quicker? So it's something to think about, and I think it's really cool. There's a lot of different technology that's really interesting in the movie. What were some parts of it that really interested you?
Definitely what they did to conserve water, like the suits and everything. That was really crazy to me, but
also gross.
And gross. Very gross.
Gross. But I guess you got to do what you got to do to survive.
I guess so, but the costume design in that too was like really impressive to me. Like how they showed that type of technology. Yeah, that was really cool. And then the blue like eyes for the Fremen, that was really cool to me. And that they get that from the spice, right? Because that was so here's one part that kind of confused me. I know that they drink the water of life and that kind of makes their eyes blue. Yeah.
But they also said that men can't handle the water of life. So why did some of the men have the blue eyes? So I think it's the spice, right? That's what I think. That's what I'm hoping I'm right about. Getting into characters, what characters do we think creeped us out the most? Because there were some creepy villains and all that.
The cousin. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm very bad with names.
Austin Butler. He was silly.
He was silly.
He was silly. There was this one quote, which I don't think is a spoiler, but hopefully it's not, where Paul. Which okay, backtrack. About this. Why is his name Paul?
This is what, the year like 10,000?
I don't know. I don't know.
Something like that. His name is Paul. His mom's name is Jessica.
Yeah, that doesn't feel right to me.
Which
Atreides. That's a name. That's a name that I can see for this universe.
Yeah.
Paul. No.
It's been so many years in the future.
And you're still going with Paul.
No offense to anyone named Paul. It's a great name. But are they still there's still Pauls in the year like 10,000?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. 10,000.
Is that right?
I don't know. I don't think it's set in like the future or anything. I think it's kind of like, I mean, I know it equates, is that a word, to like a similar time on Earth, but I feel like it's just like a completely different universe, and this is how they've developed.
That's even crazier. A complete different universe.
and we're still using Paul.
And we're still using Paul and Jessica.
That is crazy.
That's crazy.
100%. Because Paul.
Are
you serious?
That's his name?
His name is Paul.
His name is Paul.
But either way, Paul. He gets into a little fight.
Spat.
Scruffle. With Austin Butler, whatever his name is. And there's this one quote that I thought was just so silly. He was like, "May thy knife chip and shatter," which is like, whoa. That was pretty sick. And then he copied him and he went, "Oh, may thy knife chip and shatter." And I thought that was really funny.
Oh my God.
'Cause why?
Why?
He just thought it was silly. He thought, oh, that sounds really cool. I gotta say that. The character I thought was the creepiest, I have two. Harkonnen, the leader of Harkonnen, I think. He was that big guy who was like, he floats.
Yeah.
That dude was gross and scary. I did not like him.
Scary.
And I don't know, something about him creeped me out. I mean, for good reason, because guys, spoiler alert, he's bad.
Bad news.
Bad news. And that's all I'll say. Ooh, let's talk about the Emperor.
Oh,
In The Emperor's Daughter. That was very interesting to me. So the Emperor kind of like rules over the entire planet, right? He was kind of an interesting character because, I don't know, he was like, he's the Emperor, so of course he's full of power, so is he gonna be good? And a lot of people trusted the Emperor, but he was working kind of alongside the Harkonnen.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting. How do you feel about that?
I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought that the character of like the daughter was also really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She was cool. And she was and I forget what they're called, but it's just like the group of women in general that they kind of have the force. They talk to people. Oh, you've got it. Come on. Tip of your tongue.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Guys, there's a lot of words in this movie.
I'm not very good with names or memorizing.
We'll get there.
But we'll get there.
By
you
the
guys
time
know what we're talking about.
Part 3 comes out,
we'll know it.
we'll know it. Promise.
Promise.
You know what? Let's do some trivia.
Okay, I'm very excited.
And then I
for
think we have
this.
just so much to talk about with spoilers.
Yes.
So I think then we should get into the spoilers.
I'm finally gonna win trivia.
By the way, if you don't want any spoilers, some of these trivia questions also might have spoilers in them. So I would say if you don't want spoilers, go ahead, click off, but come back. Come back
Skip
after
ahead.
you've seen the movie. What substance is most valuable in the Dune movie? Number 1, spice. Number 2, the water of life. Number 3, sandworm skin.
I'm gonna go with a spice.
Spice.
Is that right?
Congratulations.
Oh, good.
It is
Okay.
spice. You get a point.
I get a point.
Put a
I'm gonna
little
keep my
tally on there. Who are the Emperor's military? Number 1, Paul. Sandworms? I think that says sandworms.
Oh, okay.
And number 3, Sardaukar. Sardaukar? Sardaukar.
I'm gonna go with number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3.
That was really good. Yes, correct.
Okay, good.
Correct.
I get another tally.
Congratulations. Now let's get into more scenes in the movies. Like I said, this movie kind of has some comedic parts to it. Some that may not be meant to be comedic. If you were to turn any scene into a meme, what would you do? This is good. Come on.
Oh my god.
This
Okay,
is good.
I would say when Paul is trying to ride the sandworm for the first time, he keeps falling down.
Yes.
It was a very serious moment,
very
but in the theater, I was trying not to laugh.
You were trying to laugh? I thought that was so cool. That
It was
like my
so
fave.
cool, but I was just thinking about like how he kept falling down.
Kept falling down.
But
He got back up.
He got
again.
back up.
I get knocked down. You
and
know what
then
I'm
he got
saying?
up again.
I would say that if I were to make something a meme, I was talking to you about this. This is from Dune Part 1.
I know
Okay.
exactly the moment you're talking about.
So the leader of the Harkonnen guy, he was like floating. Like, okay, so he was eating a snack or something. I don't really know. He was eating a meal, and it was after he had just like, I think he tranquilized the Duke.
Oh my god.
Not Paul, his papa.
Yeah.
And so the Duke was just kind of like sitting there like looking at him because, you know, there's not much he could do.
Yeah.
And he started to float towards him and he was still munching.
I just want everyone listening to know that when Leia first saw this scene, she had to pause it and laugh for like several minutes and then rewind it and watch it again.
I'm sorry, this scene is so funny.
It was so
He
funny.
was munching on his food, his little snack, and
and just floating.
I've got a caption for this meme. Me when my brother asked if I ate his leftovers. That's me.
Yes.
That's me. And I felt that's a really real scene to me.
That's so real.
Resonated with me. Let's get into some more serious themes in the movie. This is really something we wanted to talk about. How does how does religion play a role in Dune? And also war. We'll get into both of them here because they coincide.
Yeah. I think that definitely, you know, like you said, those two themes are really like interlocked with each other. But I thought that definitely in that kind of trying to convince people of like the prophecy or trying to, I don't know, just those two different groups of like who believed what and how that played into like strategical.
That's right?
Is that right?
I think that's a word.
That like
I'm confident that you are correct.
how it played into the strategically
Strategicness.
The strategy
of the political leaders.
Yes.
Let's talk about it. That was really good. I love that. No, I agree 100%. So I think that with this universe, there's no internet or things like that. So a lot of the leaders are leading religiously. And there's a lot more people just kind of like leaning on religion rather than science. There's a lot of magical elements within this movie and this entire thing. So it makes sense that a lot of people would go more on the religious end, and it kind of takes a toll on them because we have Paul, who's like in the second movie, he goes into work with the Fremen and he's like, hey guys, I'm totally like, well, at first he's kind of like, no, I don't want the power.
Yeah.
But I think it was all kind of just this deception so that he could make them trust him. Yeah. And I think that some of it was intentional, but I think that it shows how religion can start a war because in religion, God is always on your side. Yeah. So if there's two religions that kind of like think that the spice is ours, and then you've kind of got butting heads and everyone's like, God is on our side, so we'll win.
Yeah, that's a really good point of like kind of both sides, you know, having that belief.
Yeah.
But I thought that there was a lot of character development in Paul and like how people could see like, was he really genuine in his like wanting those people to trust him, or was it all a deception? Yeah. Because, you know, later we start to see there's that shift in him being more powerful. Yeah. Using that.
You know what? It's hard to know, like, is he a villain at this point? I think he is, kind of. But what does that mean for, like, being a villain in this movie? I think it means that kind of if you have power, a certain amount of power, you have to be a villain, you know? Yeah. And I think he's working towards the prophecy. He sees things with the water of life and everything. So I don't know that at first he had, like, this way of thinking. Like, I don't think that he wanted that power at first because he didn't see the outcome. And he only saw blurry things, and that didn't feel right to him. And I think after that, then he got bad. Yeah. He got bad. Yeah. So, yeah, his character development is really interesting to me. And I'm excited to see what they do in the next one with his character, because I'm still not fully convinced that he is a bad guy. I think it depends on what side you're on, you know? I think that he's deceptive for real. For real. I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah. That was kind of a complicated character arc, and I thought that was really cool. Let's get into some of our favorite scenes.
Ooh, oh my gosh. You're going to have to go first for this one. I've got to think.
Surfing sandworms.
Ah, yes.
As you know about me, I love surfing. I want to surf one day. Guys, never surfed before. Will surf.
No, you're a surfer.
Will surf.
I just know it.
I feel it in my bones.
Yeah.
Feels right. Anyways, I could do that.
You could totally do that.
I could do that.
Yeah.
So the sandworms are terrifying to everyone else. But the Fremen know kind of how to coexist with them, which is really interesting. And the sandworms are just these really ancient creatures that live in the sand dunes. And you can kind of see throughout shots of the desert is that you're kind of showing like the dunes are like waves.
Yeah.
And it kind of resembles being in the water. And then, you know, it's his first time getting on a board. He struggles to pop up a little bit. He's got a big wave.
Yeah.
And he pops up and he surfs that wave, just like the prophecy said.
Yes.
And I just thought that that was really interesting, the parallels with that and surfing. That was kind of cool.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And also, it was just such an epic moment to watch. On the big screen, we watched it in IMAX, and it was really cool. So I think that was definitely my favorite scene.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many good scenes. I think that one of my favorites was when they're kind of like, they're running between like being covered by those big like parts of the ship.
Yeah.
The special effects in that scene were amazing. There was like so many explosions, and it looked really cool.
The special effects and editing in general in this movie were awesome.
Yeah.
I think there was, I can't really explain it because honestly I don't remember the scene that much, but there was a part where I want to say it was the Harkonnen were trying to find Paul or something. They were trying to fight the Fremen because they want power, you know. And so they were like floating over the sand or whatever, and you could see the shadows, and it looked so real. And that's such an opportunity to look really bad.
Yeah.
Like that definitely could have not worked out in their favor, and it looks so good. It was a success. Everything looked really amazing. The effects for them riding the worm, I wonder how they did that.
Me too.
Because they had, I mean, you know, they had it latch onto the worm. It looked so real. You felt like you were there. It's really awesome. So a lot of people think that just specifically the director for this, I mean, has trouble with like dialogue in movies, and they felt that there was a lack of complex dialogue in the movie. Do you agree?
I don't know. While I was watching it, I did not think that there was like a lack of dialogue. I thought that, a lot of the dialogue was pretty complex. It was, you know, you got an understanding of the narrative from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought that a lot of the characters had like more in-depth conversations, but I guess because it was more action-packed, there was less of that dialogue than maybe there could have been. But I think that it was definitely made up for in, you know, the more action-based scenes. It was more like they showed you what was going on than the characters really talking about it super in-depth.
I agree. I think that the director does a great job of giving the feeling and the vibe of what's going on without using words, and I think that in some ways that's even more impressive. Especially through music. We see at the beginning there was the kind of like the bad guys. They were all doing this, I believe it was a war chant or something like that, through throat singing, which was really cool. They did a really good job of that. And that kind of like conveyed like, you know, charging in, ready for war, ready for a fight. And that was really interesting. The music was really interesting. I can't get into it too much because I can't say that I know a lot about it. But if you're interested in music and soundtracks with movies, I think that's definitely something to look into. Because they did a lot of really cool stuff with this one. And I think sound was one of the most important elements to this movie. So I probably should know more about it.
Especially a lot of the effects, like when they're like stomping on the ground for the sandworms.
Drum sand.
Yes, especially seeing it in theaters where like the sound is all around you. You really got a feel of like that noise that like spreads out through like a large space.
The echo,
and I thought that was like a really immersive kind of part of the movie. But I think a pet peeve of mine in a lot of movies is when it's all just like you're watching the characters tell you what happens, or like you're watching them just like talk to each other and that's it. But when a film can kind of like show you what's happening through like more complex visuals or audio or like any sort of those things instead of just relying on the dialogue to tell the story, I think that makes it so much more entertaining and like interesting to watch.
I think that's really important within writing and within just like making a movie, is that the audience gets what's happening without you having to tell them. All right, so I think it's time we get into the ending. Ending's really interesting. We have Paul, he fights his cousin.
Yeah.
his cousin.
And he's his cousin.
For the spot of being the emperor.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the emperor's daughter. He's like, let me get your daughter and let me be emperor. I'll keep her safe. So that was his deal. But then they were like, okay, well, you got to fight this guy. And he did. And he won, which we didn't think was going to happen.
We didn't think it was going to happen. That part where the camera moves.
Yeah.
And you see that, like, he actually stabbed the other guy instead of the other way around. That was crazy.
That was really crazy. So they obviously started a war because he was like, I guess, I don't know who it was. It was the name of some sort of people, but they were like, we're not going to accept you becoming the emperor. No, sorry. They wanted to destroy all like the spice fields and stuff, take away the power from the other people, which was quite interesting. What do you think will happen next?
It's hard to tell. I think that so much changed within Paul's character, especially in that last part of the movie where he gained so much power. And then, I think it's going to be really interesting to see where specifically his character goes. Is he going to, like, turn into even more of a villain, or is there going to be some sort of, like, redemption? But, I thought that really just I'm excited to see where Paul's character, like, goes.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm hoping for redemption because I liked Paul at first. But I think, honestly, that he's going to become, like, the main villain.
Yeah.
I think that now he has all of the power. And I don't know that it's going to work in his favor.
Yeah.
I think that the people that he led there, I feel like it's going to work in their favor. I'm hoping that they can, like, take charge.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he's gonna be a big bad guy.
Yeah.
But hopefully maybe Desert Spring can help out with that.
I did really the last
fight
scene,
against him because she knows him the best.
Yeah, where she's just riding the sandworm away. I thought that was really like, I don't know, a good moment because it shows that she's not just gonna follow him. Like, she has her own set of, like, morals.
Yeah. I wonder if she'll start maybe her own revolution.
I think that would be really
That would be really cool. And I think that she definitely has power within, just over him. I think she has power over him. Because I think he does love her.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Okay, so Dune is kind of like the base of sci-fi. It kind of started all of it. And there's a lot of parallels from some more recent sci-fi movies that we're more familiar with. So we both, I think, grew up mainly with Star Wars. I think that was the main sci-fi movie that I grew up with. Name being Leia. My dad loves Star Wars. That's why the name is Leia. So I think that, so I can't say that I'm the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, but there are a lot of parallels that I can see just from watching Dune. Some people think that maybe that's a bit on purpose. So go ahead and tell us what you think about that.
I think that, honestly, especially, like, the further we get with different forms of, like, media and different stories, there's no such thing as, like, something that is 100% like original, right?
Yes.
So I think that, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a lot of inspiration that was drawn from Dune, you know, with that kind of story. But definitely with that kind of, like, Paul becoming a villain, and then there's, like, Anakin. So like, I think that could definitely be very inspired by Dune. But that whole kind of, like, sci-fi genre, a lot of the things that we grew up with, I think were definitely inspired by Dune.
Yeah. I think that there are a couple, like, now that I'm thinking about it, there are a couple scenes that I looked at from Dune that kind of look like something that I saw in Star Wars. Like, I know the leader of the Harkonnen, that guy, I would say that his face kind of, like, I mean, looks like Darth Vader's face when he took off the mask, right? I don't know if I just don't remember what it looks like.
Now that you say that.
Kind of similar, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Force. Like, that's kind of the biggest parallel that I think we're seeing from Dune. Dune came out before Star Wars, and it had it had like the whole thing where they were like talking and it would make other people do things for them and all that.
Yeah.
It's exactly what the Force is. And that kind of coincided with religion, and I think that the Force was kind of also a more religious thing.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see that being
There's a
together.
lot of parallels.
There are a lot of parallels now that I think about it. Because, oh my gosh, yeah, there's a lot. There's the Force, and then there's also, with the Fremen, there's more southern people from their tribe. The more southern people are more religious. We had like Jedis in Star Wars were kind of like at the beginning seen as something that's like didn't happen anymore, like I think in the first one. And so he was kind of like, Jedi, what? And so they were kind of like, it's all like religious and stuff, but then there are prophecies that are kind of shown that shows that it's kind of real, but we can't be sure. So that's really interesting. There are a lot of parallels. Can you think of any others?
Oh my gosh, not that. No, I think you've named a lot of the ones that I've like originally thought of, but I think it's just crazy to think like without Dune, probably wouldn't have had like a lot of the sci-fi things that we grew up with, like Star Wars or
kind of like started the vibes.
Yeah, Doctor Who. I used to really like.
I was a kid. Doctor Who too, as a kid, but I didn't watch all of Doctor Who.
Neither did I.
I only watched like the last couple ones.
I watched whichever ones my sisters would watch.
The bald guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. The people have access to space travel in Dune. A, false. B, true.
I'm gonna go with B.
It is. It's true.
Good,
it's true.
good.
It's true. Due to spice, they're able to hit the ships, head to the stars.
Yeah.
That was awesome. What calls a sandworm? A, a whistle. Right. B, drum sand. Right. 3, stomping.
I'm gonna go with the last one.
C, stomping anywhere.
Well, wait. Do you mean stomping like anywhere? Like anywhere? Or like
Yes, that was the answer. Stomping.
So if you were
anywhere.
like inside your ship and you stomped?
Oh my gosh, no, like in the desert.
No, like in the
Anywhere
desert.
in the desert.
Anywhere in the desert. And then what was the middle one?
The middle one was drum sand. Oh, it is drum sand. You lose.
I think that this is
But,
unfair.
okay, I will say that. But you can't stomp anywhere. You have to stomp on drum
Do
sand.
they know?
Eek.
Well, I'm still not the best trivia, but one of these episodes I'm gonna win trivia, even when
Have you
it's
won
just
yet?
me. I've not won yet.
Okay.
I thought that today was my day because it's just me,
no.
but I guess not.
And I even gave you a chance.
You even gave me a chance.
All right. Well, Sarah, do you have anything else to say about the Dune movie?
Oh my gosh.
Wrap us up.
Just that it's definitely worth the watch, even if you're not a science fiction person. Personally, I always have a hard time, as you could probably tell, like following more science fiction-y, like complex storylines, but I really loved it. I thought it was such a good story. It was beautiful visually, and yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, it's a long movie, but it's worth all the time. Get in there, go to the theaters, watch it. I believe it's just in theaters right now, but it should come out soon, I'm sure. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to our CCS Cinema Club podcast, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.